In. Hey, there we go. There we have you. How are you?
I am amazing. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Good stuff. Can you hear me okay? Because I just got a little notification saying my connection is unstable. But can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. Yes.
Awesome. Good stuff. Good stuff. Welcome and thank you so much for taking this time to be here with me. Um, So, firstly, I was just sharing actually why I am doing this, being your brand series, and I know you'll relate very much to this because we're always getting told we must build our personal brand and all the benefits of that. Building relationships, reputation, credibility, and that's all good and well. The angle I wanted to come from with this being your brand series is actually talking to people, visionary founders like yourself, who actually has been walking the talk, who actually has impacted thousands or in your bio it said thousands. I reckon it's more than 10,000s actually.
Yeah.
Who is monetizing, who is making the money, and get more of an understanding and a depth of actually, who you have to become in order to do that. And what does that look like, for a successful business owner like yourself, who's, like I said, walk the talk. So before I continue, I'm just going to give a little introduction on who you are. If you've never come across Suzy Ashworth, firstly, go and follow her. She's amazing. I've come across Suzy because I've been to a few of your events. Someone actually brought me to one of your events, and then I've just been in your world ever since, basically. Yeah. And I'm not stepping out anytime soon. And then I've been in your business momentum portal. Enjoyed all your different live events, and anytime I can have a little chit chat with you, I am very happy to be in your presence. So I've actually just written down this so I don't forget anything. So Suzy is a serial entrepreneur, international keynote speaker, multi seven-figure business, and Sunday Times best-selling author for her book Infinite Receiving. Over the last 12 years, she's helped thousands, and I reckon it's more than thousands, it's tens of thousands of coaches, people become world class in their craft, not just by teaching, but by modeling what it means to show up fully. I can definitely say, being in your world, Suzy, you are not somebody who sugarcoats. You've shared challenges, you've shared the shifts, you've shared the deep learning with absolute grace and generosity. With all of those things, that doesn't just happen. You don't just become a best-selling author. You don't just do phenomenal, epic live events. I want to know, who do you need to become to be able to do those things?
Yes.
Over to you. And if you'd like to add any more to that intro, please do.
No, that was amazing. Thank you very much. I think, in a nutshell, the mission has to become bigger than you. And I think that when the mission becomes bigger than your own individual needs, wants, and desires, it makes it that much easier for you to play a bigger game. And I said this literally in the certification yesterday. Often people are, when you're in an ebb, so business is ebbs and flows.
Yep.
One of my old mentors, Melanie Ann Leah, says it's ups and downs on the way up. And that is exactly it. What happens with a lot of people is that when they go into an ebb, their focus becomes what do I need to do to get the next sale? And so all of their thinking is short term. It's like, what do I need to write in this specific post in order to get 10 people to reach out to me? And as soon as you are thinking in that way, whether you're saying it explicitly or not, energetically, it is all about you. And that is not magnetic, it is not attractive, and it is not the way, in my experience, to build a long lasting, sustainable brand, because you're not thinking about the experience of your potential dreamboat client. If you're just thinking about yourself, you are really limiting your ability and capacity to build something bigger than yourself. And so in my world, most people are attracted to me because they desire to build an impact driven business. And in order to create an impact driven business, you have to have a mission that is bigger.
Absolutely. And actually beautifully coming into energetics, because you've seen it, I've seen it, people create amazing, programs, and, they get it all mapped out and everything like that. And then they put it out there and it's absolute crickets. How important is it to work on your energetics, your mindset, and that side of your beingness in that sense?
Yeah. Look, I don't think it's either or, although what does feel true for me is I've seen people who don't look like they have any type of meaningful strategy go out and kill it consistently because they are 100% aligned, and that alignment piece is the energetics piece with their mission, with their product, with their pricing. And so what can look like chaos from the outside, or look like something that doesn't have a pattern or strategy from the outside, I've seen people who, because of that alignment, are doing really well. I think that they are more the anomalies. And for me, that alignment piece and the energetics, so that's how you feel about who you are, what it is that you are doing, and then the energy that you are putting out into the world. For me, it's probably 80% of the work, the mindset piece, mindset and energetics, and the embodiment of what it is that you are selling, the transformation that you are selling. That's probably 80%. And then 20% is the strategic piece. And it's when those two things come together, that's when we create the magic.
Yeah, absolutely. And talking about alignment, because we know when we are in alignment, there is that feeling of like just knowing, and there's a frequency of it feels good and those kind of things. When you, Suzy, because I'm sure there's maybe moments where, well, absolute alignment, and then there's moments where like, that doesn't feel quite right. What do you do in those kind of moments, or have you done in those moments?
So in next week, I go to Spain and I'm going to be on a mastermind retreat. And in that mastermind retreat, I will get to work on my business. And I think that often it is taking a step back. Like I said, often people, when they're in a contraction, when things aren't working, they just try to do more of the same thing, which is the definition of madness, wanting to get a different result but doing the same thing that you've always done. Your willingness to step back, and one of my mentors, Mariah Cars, has talked about slingshot era, and when you've got a slingshot, you're in that pulling back phase, and sometimes you've got to slow down in order to speed up. It's that piece. It's being willing to stop. It's going outside. It is getting some fresh air. It's listening to music. What can I do to take my mind off the problem so I can start to create space for connecting with the solution? Most people are trying to think their way out of a problem. You can't think your way out of a problem. You have to connect with the solution. And so I get that by taking a step away from what it is that I'm actually doing.
Yeah. And, having invested in myself, be it with you, others, and stuff, that has been a real game changer for me. It's like every single time it's a new version of you that continues to evolve, but the mission and the vision and the purpose remains the same. And in fact, you feel even more either connected to it or even more fueled and driven to make this want to come even more, well, impact even more with it. And it keeps you a different kind of fuel, doesn't it? That whole sort of working on yourself, and that side of it. You started your business like, as 12 years ago, right? at that time, I don't think it was even coined as personal branding or personal brand. Was the words even around then? Probably not, right?
Branding was,
Yeah.
but I don't think that we were talking about it in the same way as now.
Yeah. And so, in your eyes, through your experience, how has it, changed over the years? And, compared to then and now, what is really the importance of building your personal brand with an aligned self-identity, I guess, behind it?
I don't know that it has changed. I think that the essence has always been true. People buy people. People buy people first.
Yeah.
And I think that what is true is it is only going to become more important. So the internet has got noisier and noisier and noisier. So when I was coming in 12 years ago, you still had people that had been around for 3, 4, 5 years before saying, wow, everything has changed. Like when I first started, I couldn't just go onto YouTube and be like, how do I do this? Or how do I do that? By the time I came along, you had gurus, you had people that were teaching, you had people that were sharing, that were able to help you build a business. But there was still, relatively speaking, we didn't know it at the time, but relatively speaking, God, there was so much space back then. So back then, all you needed to do, which is still what you need to do now, is really show up consistently, share, teach, add value, and you were building your personal brand almost without knowing it. Back then I spoke to messaging, and messaging isn't only brand, it's not just writing.
Yep.
It is, as you said in the beginning, it's how you make people feel, it's what your context, it's how people talk about you when you are not in the room. All of that comes through your videos, it comes through what it is that you're writing. So your message and what it is that you stand for, your values, all of that fits into your personal branding. I think now it has never been more important. One, because of the noise. Two, because, probably up until maybe even a year ago, a lot of people in the online world thought that they were in the information business. AI has just taken all of the value out of being in the information business. If you're in the information business, your business is not going to be around for a lot longer. And so now, not only the business that I am in is human to human connection. It is transformation. It is helping people helping people take their dreams and turn them into their reality. Now, there is still a plethora of people who can make that promise. So on top of being able to make that promise, I have to become an expert in experience. I have to become an expert in connection, and I have to become an expert in community. Now, to make my community appealing for people, I'm the gateway. I am the personal brand. And then once you come in, once you say, I like Suzy, I like what she stands for, I like what she is building and what she represents, then you come in and you meet the actual brand, which is not me. Quantum Leap Your Life business certification it's my IP, but it is not me. The brand stands on its own, but I am the gateway to the brand. So in order for people to get to know that, because people buy people, not things, that messaging piece, my heart, what I care about, what I value, what I represent, what else, what my contribution to the world, what I think about the world, our values, all of that it's always been important, but I think that it's even more important now with the rise of AI, and then with the online coaching world, the barrier to entry being so low, and there being more and more and more people coming into the market because there's more and more demand, which is great. People have to know you more than ever in order to want to invest with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, coaching space being an unregulated space. So there's that extra layer of like showing that expertise along with the extra layer of what you can now also get from AI tools and stuff like that. So
yeah, it's unregulated, but for me, it's just one of the reasons why we went to become ICF accredited, to add that level of authority and standard, which is the gold standard for coaching certifications. But it's like authority, again, your branding, that represents one of our values. Our values is excellence, and we're going to get an outside authority. It's not just me saying it. I'm going to get an outside authority to say that it's excellent. And so if that's important to you, then you're going to look at what it is that we have to offer.
Yeah.
So that's part of the brand experience.
Absolutely. And like you said, if that resonates, and this is the importance, right, of having brand values and the values, being brought to life. These aren't just values that you put on a website and a wall or a mug and that kind of thing. It's like, okay, if one of our values is excellent, how do we ensure that comes through every interaction, because every interaction creates an impression. And by the way, I must say this to you because, whilst I was liaising with your team to arrange this today, they were excellent. Immediate, efficient responses, really great. And I was just like, Suzy's definitely sent the memo of, you can just tell the culture, just that understanding and the efficiency. And when you've just said one of my values is excellence, I'm like, landed. Of course it is, and for me, I love to see that. That's the things that, we don't go around and say, my values is this. Hi, my values is this. You don't go into a networking room and say that. You don't go in, working with a client and first thing you say is, hi, these are my values.
No.
It's more about how you bring them to life in interactions, in experiences. That's where it really walks the talk.
Yes.
In that sense. And just actually coming back to the power of personal brand and in terms of, and it's really beautifully demonstrated, because I often get questions or, along the lines of, yeah, but I'm building my personal brand, but then, what about the business brand and all of that side of it? But you've just actually beautifully demonstrated in that sense of like, the personal brand, it's you're putting yourself out there and people are buying into you, your IP, your teachings, your learnings, and knowing that's been filtered into your programs. You may not be delivering it everyone individually, but it's your teachings, your learnings, your lived experiences that gets to inform those programs. So, in a way that beautifully answers, actually, yes, you can have your personal brand and this is what people are buying into. And even if you're not the one delivering the actual final program in that sense.
100%. But Steve Jobs and Apple is an amazing example of this. Steve Jobs went into Apple when Apple were nothing. They were on the outs. It's even now, and I don't know how long Steve Jobs has been passed for, the legacy of his personal brand is what created the elevation for Apple. Love him or hate him, Elon Musk, his personal brand, it could be the upside and the downside. At least in Europe, we see when his personal brand and his association with Trump has absolutely negatively impacted sales of Tesla. And if you look at the vision and the mission for Tesla, which is to make affordable electric cars that look good, we all buy into that, but we don't. We buy people, not product.
Yes.
So you disagree with his brand values, his associations.
Yeah.
You then don't buy the product.
Yeah, absolutely. And another great example is Richard Branson. He has more followers and, likes, all of that kind of thing. And I know this isn't about follow account, but it just shows the power of, personal brand.
Yeah.
Way more than Virgin. What has helped all of those collaborations, partnerships and stuff? It's him. He's the one who's made the deals. Is he fully part of every single deal? Some of them he has 5%, 10%. It's not fully 100% him.
Such a good example, because again, as somebody who's met him, who's masterminded with him, who has spent time with him on Necker Island, he is the embodiment of his brand values.
Mm.
People always say, don't meet your heroes. I met a hero, and he was so lovely. And what is it that I remember about him?
Yeah.
He knew the name of every single one of his
Wow.
80 odd employees. Back then, I think he was 78. Every single employee he knew the name of. They all talked about him like he was their dad or their granddad. And it's like, he is a good guy. And I guess as soon as somebody's got a B in front of their net worth, that it can be very controversial. But my experience of him was impeccable. The way that he treated his staff were impeccable. He talked about how he looked after his staff during COVID. It was impeccable.
Wow.
And I believe that is the reason that he has so many followers, so much more than Virgin, again, because people buy him, but what they're buying is real. It's fun, it's crazy, it's a little bit zany. He's going to do the wild thing. That's who he is.
Yeah.
And he's a lover of people. Please don't come for me when you talk about him trying to privatise the NHS. I'll say that.
But that coming back to actually that just nicely leads me on to leadership, right? Because everything that matters to him, and this is it for even as founders, where be it you're one person and you're looking to grow a team, or you are somebody who does want to build an empire and have lots of stuff. But that's the thing, isn't it? It's that leadership. It's that understanding of self first, in that sense, and knowing that mission, vision, purpose, all of those kind of things, because he's then built everything around him, attracted people, projects, all of those kind of things that then helps to bring that vision to life, because we cannot do it alone.
100%. I just want to read, so I think that this comment here is really, I feel trust is something that is massively diminishing, which means that our true self showing up gives hope to humans wanting to connect again, a necessary human need in a world of technology we live in. 1000%. And I think that what is interesting in terms of building brand and personal brand, one of the big things that Gary Vee is talking about incessantly right now is the rise of the AI influencer. Now, I have no doubt that there is going to be a lot of money in AI influence. What we already are starting to understand about ChatGPT is that it is, when you don't know how to use it strategically, it will affirm you and your beliefs. It gets to know you and what it is that you want to hear. So the idea of an AI girlfriend or partner or all of that is not wild, because people are starved of connection, and that they can get exactly what they want to hear by typing in a question, and based on everything that the AI knows about you, get the perfect answer. There is a market for those people that is rapidly growing. But there are also people like you and I who they don't want to see an AI virtual person pretending. And I believe that the more human that you can be, and the more you can demonstrate your personalness, your personality, I think that is going to be extremely powerful when it comes to trust building, when it comes to connection, and ultimately where people choose to invest their time, energy, and money in the future. More important.
Absolutely. And that human connection is something I feel like people are just going to be craving more and more. The more AI that comes in, more human connection, we're just going to be craving more for that. And which actually nicely brings me into, you said about more personality and stuff, the difference between private and personal branding. Because, for me, the way I see personal branding, very simply put, it's the stamp of value you deliver to others. You may have seen this. I know I've seen this a lot, where people get really personal, and it's more about attention economy in that sense. There's a difference between, saying, doing, being in a way that is the stamp of value that you deliver to others. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say fucking, but yeah, I do. I really fucking hate hashtag
Say it.
vulnerable posts.
Mm.
Like, I immediately cringe, not because I hate vulnerability. I love vulnerability. I have shared some really personal things on my podcast within my community. So I don't mind that. It's the declaration, that it's the labeling that immediately, it's when somebody says my value is integrity, I'm like, why are you telling me that? That's something that I should feel. You should not have to label it. And so I feel very it always makes me feel a little bit ick when I see stuff like that. And for me, what has been true in my experience is that when I am sharing something valuable, I should be sharing the lesson. For me, using your platforms as a therapy session or a place to vent, again, this might be part of your personal brand. And if you're the person who, there was a guy that I used to follow back in the day that would do a 5-minute rant every day. And that was part of the brand he was building. I mean, there's no way on this earth that I want to attract people who like listening to a 5-minute rant every day about something that you're pissed off about. I'm just like, so private v personal, I think that the lesson, so yeah, I feel like we're probably on the same page. If it's adding value, if it's shifting someone's perspective, when I create content, I'm thinking about, is this going to shift somebody's perspective? Because that's what infinite receiving, I talk about it in the beginning. What is infinite receiving? It's your ability to see more. And what I mean by that is see more answers, see more solutions, see more pathways. Because when you can see more pathways, you've got more options, and more options when it comes to solution finding, when it comes to making more money, when it comes to making more impact. You have to choose one ultimately. It's very different. If I can only see working in Tesco's for £10 an hour as my option, I can't infinitely receive with that one pathway. If I can all of a sudden look up and understand that, oh wow, I can become a coach or I can become an entrepreneur, and I don't have to charge time for money, or I've got more options. I've got more options, I can then receive more. Yeah. Yeah. I kind of got off on a bit of a tangent there.
No, that's fine. No, but it just leans into the importance of intentionality, because I always like to say what you put out there is what people are going to know and believe about you. So if you're going out there, and actually I'm just going to share an example of somebody who, bless her, was going through some major life things, and in real time she was sharing everything. Brilliant at what she does. And somebody even said to me, oh, do you know somebody that does and works on these kind of platforms and is good at it? And I was like, I do, but I'm not putting you in front of them right now. And this is what we need to think about when we are creating content or going into networking rooms. What kind of conscious conversations are we actually having that is aligned and intentional to what we want to be known for, how we want to be positioned, the kind of seeds we want to plant in people's minds about what we can do and how we can impact in that sense.
100%. Not all PR is good PR. Not all visibility is good visibility. If you're there consistently sharing about how troubled things are in your life and in your business, whilst I might have empathy for you, whilst I might have sympathy for you, I'm not going to give you £1,000, £2,000, £10,000 to work on my business or my life at this stage for you. Sorry, but no.
I hear you. Right, so I'm going to start wrapping this up. What I'd love to ask you, Suzy, is, for the listeners, be it right now or on the replay and stuff, if somebody is thinking about, building their personal brand, really leading from within, what 2 to 3 tips would you like to share with them?
I think, one, what do you want to be known for?
Oh, I don't know if it's my sound or yeah. Sorry, I got you at one. What you want to be known for?
Yeah, which can sometimes feel challenging, but even if it's not the specific, like even if it's not sales or copywriting, like what's the mission? Like decide on what it is that you want to be known for. 2, people hate this, but it's true. Be consistent. Show up consistently, and know that in the beginning you're going to be crap, and it's okay. You know, I'm the worst I'm ever going to be today, but because I've been doing this for 12 years, it's pretty fucking good. I also know that within another decade, I'm going to look back at this version of me and be like, oh my God, you know, how much more have I grown? How much more have I expanded? Just accept that being shit at the beginning is just part of it. So start showing up as quickly as possible. And then the third piece, what would be my third piece for it? Just try and be honest. Try and be yourself. One of the pillars of infinite receiving is the pillar of infinite greatness, and I talk about knowing that your thumbprint is never going to be replicated and has never gone before you. And we take our uniqueness for granted pretty much every single day of the week. We look over our shoulders at what our mentors are doing or what our peers are doing, and we ask ourselves, how can we be a little bit more like that person? And every single time you do that, you dilute your personal brand, you dilute your potency, you dilute your magic. When you can really start leaning in to your unique thumbprint, voice, message, your unique take on this world, which is unique just by the nature of it coming out of your mouth. You know, when you can start to really lean into it, that's when you will start to activate your next level of magic.
And what I'm also hearing there is, you know, taking ownership of it.
Yes.
You know, not being afraid to. I love that. Thank you. And I just also, in terms of consistency, it just evoked a thought there in terms of, because I see people being consistent, but it's not consistent with, again, what they want to be known for, all of those kind of things. So just bearing in mind, frequency doesn't mean consistency, consistently aligned with your messaging, because I've seen people being frequently visible, but sometimes, honestly, I'm like, I still don't know what it is that they do, or, you know, it's confusing, that kind of thing.
Consistency isn't the same as strategy. You said consistency or frequency isn't the same as consistency, and those it's important. Yeah.
I mean, one of the things I have found in my business journey, you know, showing up, trying things, all of those kind of things, it's also built confidence. I can, for a fact, tell you when I started my business many years ago, I wouldn't have had the confidence to say, Suzy, can you come on a live with me? I wouldn't have, you know, but over time, as I've understood what my mission and vision and purpose and all of those kind of things is, and it's way bigger than me. You know, this is about humanity in that sense. So it's like, put yourself aside, Aarti. You know, this is how we're going to be serving, and this is then that, you know, how you then build that confidence as well.
I think there's a lot of things. I think confidence comes from taking action, and you are action taker. But also, we have built a relationship. You have not only invested in my products and services and offers, you have shown up, you've been an incredible client, you've done some amazing things, you've been an incredible cheerleader, you know, and what I never have any worry about what Aarti might be saying about me when I'm not in the room, you know, and so therefore I would want to do this. And I think that it's just everybody should be thinking about that. I think about that with every single thing that I invest in. I'm not just thinking about my personal brand from what people see of me on the internet. Who am I being as a client? Because again, energetically, I also want to attract clients who are like me, and you get what you are, not what you want. Like, I genuinely believe that. But I'm thinking about, how can I, as a client, as a partner, make this an incredible experience for my mentor? And because I'm thinking about that, not consciously being like, this is my personal brand within the program, but I'm just thinking about being a fucking good person.
Yeah.
That then I am able to build really incredible relationships. I have some incredible relationships with some amazing individuals because of my personal brand, not from a business perspective, but because of who I am. And I think that that's, that I can say the same about you.
100%. And that's the thing, isn't it? It's not just what's online, it's what's offline. And when no one is around, who are you also being in those moments?
Exactly.
Wonderful, wonderful. Suzy, I can chat with you all day. And again, thank you so much for taking the time out today to have this conversation. I know it's going to be so valuable for so many people. So appreciate you. And I hope to be in a room with you again soon.
Yes, I will see you soon. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you, everyone that joined us as well.